ثلاثة أيام في الحج وسبعة إذا رجعتم تلك عشرة كاملة ذلك لمن لم يكن أهله حاضر المسجد الحرام واتقوا الله واعلموا أن الله شديد العقاب الحج أشهر معلومات فمن فرض فيهن الحج فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج وما تفعلوا من خير يعلمه الله وتزودوا فإن خير الزاد التقوى واتقوني يا أولي الألباب صدق الله العظيم.
صدق الله العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى: وأتموا الحج والعمرة لله. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: عمرة إلى عمرة كفارة لما بينهما، أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Respected brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, jazakallah for coming. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written already for you to be forgiven, and hence He's already called you to come to His house. The journey that you're going to undertake, the spiritual journey that you're going to undertake, is a journey of forgiveness. So inshallah today's workshop will touch upon what is Umrah, what is Ziyarah, the rules of it, the logistics behind it, and we'll look at apologies for the technical error. So inshallah today's workshop we'll be talking about generally 6 things. Number 1, what are the practical and spiritual understandings of Ihram, the rules of Ihram for both males and females. Number 2, we'll go through a step-by-step guide about Umrah, inshallah. Number 3, after we've completed the whole journey of Umrah, we'll look at visiting Medina Munawwara and visiting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then thereafter, inshallah, as this is a journey that sometimes we have a lot of questions for, so some tips about that, some landmarks you can visit, logistics with visas, etc. And at the end, inshallah, we'll go through with a frequently asked questions as well as a Q&A. Throughout the session, feel free to take any pictures of any of the slides. Also, if you notice around, there are some QR codes stuck up. So if you do have any questions, just scan the QR code, post a question, and inshallah, at the end of the workshop, we'll go through, inshallah, all the questions that you have posed today. Next slide. So in a nutshell, today what we're going to cover in 3 sections. Number 1, Ihram. Number 2, Umrah. And number 3, visiting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ziyarah to Medina Munawwara. So when we're traveling to the Haramain, When you're traveling to the Haramain, generally there are two aspects of this journey. Number one is the practical journey that we will undertake, so the step by steps of how to go about doing these things. But more importantly than that, as it was titled, you probably saw the first slide, this is a spiritual journey. And part of that spiritual journey, before we undertake that spiritual journey, it's very important that we have the right intention. What are we going for? Umrah is just like Hajj is a pilgrimage, and in pilgrimage we have the spirituality aspect. So similarly, in Umrah as well, Umrah is the lesser pilgrimage, and for that we need the right intention. It's a spiritual journey. We're going there, number one, for for forgiveness. Number two, we're going there to reconnect with our Creator. Number three, it's a great spirituality boost that we can undertake. And number four, this is a journey which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself undertook. So we're following in the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. So before we go, make sure we have the right intention. Am I ready? Alongside, you're doing your shopping, you're doing your packing, and alhamdulillah, you come here to learn about how to undertake this journey. But am I also ready spiritually also? So have I made the right intention? Why am I going? What am I going for? So we got to remember, alhamdulillah, we may be taking regularly a lot of flights, maybe once a year, twice a year, or once a few years. We're going on holiday. This is not a holiday that we're going on. We need to make that intention in our mind before we go. This is very different to every other holiday I will undertake, every other journey I will undertake. And when you're on this journey, if you're on a normal holiday, sometimes you don't get what you paid for, you will get angry, you might have a create a fuss with the person you booked with, at the hotel that you're staying at if you're not getting the service, and you're trying to get your customer service. When you're in Umrah, this is a spiritual journey, and as part of that spiritual journey, Allah will make us go through different tests. We'll meet people from different walks of life, people from different cultures, different backgrounds. They will test our patience, they will test our anger. And that is the test of our pilgrimage. For us to pass that spiritual journey, to get that forgiveness of Allah that we're going there for, we are going to go through hurdles in this journey. And so, how are we going to relate to these hurdles? That will be the key message for us today, inshallah. So, before we go, we need to maybe practice exercising patience, practice working on our temper, make sure we've humbled ourselves, we've been prior to everybody else around us over our own self. Number three, I have put over there, number four, make a dua list. Before you go, remember, when you go on this journey, at various instances in this journey, our du'as are going to be accepted. So before we go, let us make a dua list. That these are the things I want from Allah, and when I go there, the different instances, I want these things answered from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is your dua list. Number five, how much Quran do I plan to read there? So when we're going there, we're going to be in the Masjid al-Haram, we're going to be in Masjid Nabawi, and you see there's Quran all around. Maybe make an intention, maybe I can do one khatam in Mecca, one in Medina, read as much Quran as possible. And before you go, just like we're packing and we're preparing for this journey to visit the house of Allah, the preparation is from now we're increasing in our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our recitation of Quran, our adhkar. Similarly, we're visiting Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we're going to Medina Munawwara. From now, let us start increasing our salat and salam on Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the last thing there, pack light. From now, you'll be thinking, I'm going to need this, it's a different climate, I'm going to need extra clothes, I'm going to need this, I'm going to need that. And when you get there, you realize that probably half of your suitcase that you took, you never even used. So pack light. And to help you pack light, I have prepared for you a packing checklist of the basic bare essentials that I think you will need for this journey, inshallah. So obviously, don't forget your passport. I'll tell you a funny story. One of my friends last year, we were going for Umrah in Ramadan, and he got to Manchester airport and he realized he got everything except for his passport. So he missed his flight and he had to get another flight. So make sure you think we remember, but just before you leave the house, make sure you've got your passport, your cash, your cards. It may be a good idea because obviously most of the visas you're going to take are going to be electronic. You don't need it. But in the case where digital systems fail, like we did today, our clickers are not working. So it can happen. Technology can fail. So maybe have a paper copy of your visa also. And for males, you're going to need your ihram belt. We'll go through what the clothing of the ihram are. So if you want, as we go through these, if you do want to take a picture of any of these slides, feel free to, inshallah, or make notes of you, inshallah. Other than that, shoe bag. If you go in the masjid, you don't want to lose your shoes. Get a shoe bag, inshallah. Comfortable sunnah clothing. So it is a hot climate. You're going to be doing a lot of walking. So you need clothing that is comfortable, clothing also in line with the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number 12, I have put there a tasbih or tasbih counter to help you remember to do adhkar. And then we have something called a 7-beat tasbih. So I'll just show you what one of those are. We've got some at the back as well. So you get these tasbihs that have 7 beats. The point of this is when you're doing your tawaf, you count 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, and then, for example, the adhan happens, salah starts, or if, for example, you broke your wudu, you need to go do your wudu, you go through the rulings of that, then how many rounds have I got left? So this will help you remember. You're going round and around the Kaaba, you're going up and down Safa Marwa. These 7 beat tawaf tasbihs will be helpful to remember how many rounds you've done. It may be a good idea to take a travel prayer mat because it's lighter, simply because it's easier to carry. When you are there, if you get late, for example, you have to pray on the marble. If you have a prayer mat with you, that might help also. And a few more other things that generally I think you'll need for this journey: some booklets, some essentials, some toiletries for ihram that are unscented. We'll go through that for the rules of that, inshallah, as well. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Perform Hajj and Umrah one after the other, for surely they remove poverty and sins, just as a furnace removes dirt of iron, gold, and silver." So, like I said at the beginning, our intention is we're going to get forgiven. Beautiful hadith. We're going to perform Umrah just like a rusted metal. A furnace will remove the dirt, all the ills that we've been committed throughout our lives and throughout the year. When we go to Allah's house, we're going to be completely cleansed, inshallah. Some virtues of Umrah. At the beginning I mentioned, Umratun ila Umratin kafaratun lima baynahuma, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and Umrah is the expiation of the sins committed between it and the previous Umrah. The last time, if some of you have been before, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or maybe 2 years ago, or maybe it's the first time you're going. Every time you go for Umrah and then you go again, the second Umrah or the next Umrah is an expiation of all the sins that we may have committed between the previous Umrah and this Umrah. Number 2, those of you that may get to travel in Ramadan, performing Umrah in Ramadan is equivalent in reward as performing Hajj with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And those that perform Hajj and Umrah, they are the deputations of Allah. Whatever you ask from Allah, Allah is going to be there ready to answer your du'as. That's why I said at the beginning, make a du'a list. Your du'as are going to be accepted. Make a du'a list. Allah is there waiting for you to ask, to grant what you're wishing for, inshallah. Whatever, if you seek forgiveness from Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you also. Umrah. Umrah known as the minor Hajj or the lesser pilgrimage. We mentioned in the beginning, Umrah is also a pilgrimage. The difference is that obviously it's not farad on you, it's sunnah to perform. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed it 4 times in his life, and Umrah can be performed throughout the year, any time other than the 5 days of Hajj. So in the 5 days of Hajj, if anybody is in Dhul Hijjah in the 5 days of Hajj, then Umrah is not performed in the month of Dhul Hijjah in those 5 days only. So I thought before we go through the step-by-step guide and the rulings, I think it's important to understand, we're talking about the intention, and with that comes the etiquettes that we have. So remember, I mentioned this is not a normal holiday that we are going on, it's not any old journey, this is a spiritual journey, and for that we're going to some very holy sites. We're going to the 2 most holiest sites on planet Earth. And so when we're going there, it's imperative that we know what etiquettes we must bear in mind when we are at these sacred locations. So number 1, like I said, it's not a holiday. Maybe if you're there for 10 days, 14 days, make a timetable. Monday I'm going to do this, Tuesday I'm going to do this, this time and this time I'm going to do this. Make a timetable. It will help you make the most of your journey while you are there. And do not, there's many things that you're going to do there. The main thing we're going there for is worship. So let us revolve our journey, let us revolve our days, or the timetable we're going to make it around worship. So, for example, after Dhuhr Salah I will do this, after Asr Salah I will do this. For us to go all the way there, and we're not going to basically pay our Salah with Jama'ah, for example, or we're not going to make the most of the time that we have there with worship, then everything else is just a bonus, which is really secondary. The primary objective is our worship. And every moment that we are going to be there is a precious moment. So don't waste your time there. Number 2, I call our Umrah and our Hajj, our pilgrimages, an unplugged pilgrimage. What I mean by that is 24/7, our day-to-day life, we are plugged with technology. We are engrossed with our devices, and that takes up a lot of our concentration and a lot of our mind. When we are going there, obviously it's not easy because nowadays a lot of the things for there also have moved to a smartphone. We're going to talk about that. For example, when you go Medina, you're going to need the QR code and the Nusuk app for your Roda booking. So apart from the bare necessities, for example, you need to contact your family members where you are. Apart from the bare necessities, let's try and make this an unplugged pilgrimage. And by that we mean live in the moment. People like to take pictures and videos and they say they're doing it for memories. Live in the moment. Let your the brain Allah has blessed us with, let that be the greatest memory we have. Let our ruh, our spirit, take in all the spirituality that is there prevalent in the lands of Makkah and Medina. So let your heart and mind be your memory. Avoid taking any unnecessary photos and videos. A common question that gets asked, we'll mention that when you come to the future and ask questions about what is the ruling about taking photos and videos over there. We'll go through that inshallah. But the main thing I want you to remember is the ruling aside, let us think psychologically that I am in a very holy place. And in a holy place, what would the respect I need to have for this place command from me? Will it uphold the sanctity of this blessed place if I take my phone out and start taking a selfie at this place? So maybe that can be your judge as to where this is right or wrong. Halal or haram to aside, think of it on a spiritual note, inshallah, and that will help you make the most of your journey, inshallah. Number three, like I mentioned, we're going to meet people from all different walks of life, different backgrounds, different cultures, different languages, different temperaments. We're going to have to control ourselves. We're going to have a lot of patience and resilience. It's a hot climate. It's a very busy place, and most of us we're traveling in holiday season, so then therefore also it's going to be even more busier. And in Hajj time, they have a limit, they have a quota. For the rest of the year, they don't have a limit. So sometimes, like for example, in Ramadan last year, there were more people in Umrah in Ramadan than there was in Hajj. So if you're going in a time where it's busy, naturally there are going to be differences. You're going to go through hurdles. We're going to have patience. We're going to have to prioritize others. This is an important characteristic the Sahaba had. They would give preference to everyone else over themselves. And this is an opportunity for us to try and practice that, inshallah. Number three, we need to try and withhold our temper and our anger. People may bump into us. People may, say something to us, or the way they talk may sound rude or abrupt. Let us not waste our blessings and make our journey worthless by opening our mouth and saying something. And that's why I've put in quotes there at the bottom. Beautiful hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Man samata naja. 3 words. Whoever remains silent has been saved. No matter what has happened to you, control your tongue. Don't say anything, and there's no issue that will resolve the matter. Inshallah, you've toned your anger down. You've exercised patience, and Allah will reward you for that anyway. Number four, don't get overexcited. People go there and they think, okay, I'm going to do so much. I'm going to do one Umrah every day. I'm going to do one tawaf after every salah. Then they realize they can't. It's very hot. And 2 days they got really excited. And after that, third day they end up in the hospital. We don't want Allah forbid, inshallah. So, lasting worship is the goal. Don't get overzealous. We want something that is constant and continuous. So, for example, the first day, you may start off with, for example, reading one juz of the Quran, doing one tawaf a day, maybe, or trying to make sure that all of your salah are with jama'ah. Then the next day, maybe increase it slowly, so that you're making the most of your journey there. Remember, we're there for a short time. We want to make the most of it, but we also need to look after our health also. So that's very important as well. So the next section now we're going to go through is a practical guide of the rulings of Umrah. What is Umrah? What does Umrah consist of? Next. So there are two aspects. One is the fard and one is the wajib. What is fard in Umrah? You have to have your ihram. Ihram is split into 3 sections. We're going to go through that in detail. What will make it now you are in the state of ihram? Number 2 is the tawaf. And with that tawaf obviously is done with the niyyah of Umrah. So these 2 things, your ihram and your tawaf, are followed. Without these 2, there is no such thing as Umrah. And with that, there's also 2 things that you have to do to complete your Umrah. Without these 2 things, you can't end your Umrah, you can't exit the state of Ihram, and that is number 3, the Sa'i, which is what we're going to go through between Safa and Marwa, and number 4, cutting the hair. We're going to go through the rulings of that as well. So first thing, what is Ihram? There's 2 things to Ihram. Number 1 is the clothing of Ihram. So for males, the famous 2 white garments we have, this is just the clothing of Ihram. But I can wear this right now, and that won't mean I'm in Ihram. The main thing, most importantly, alongside the clothing of Ihram, is the state of Ihram. And to enter the state of Ihram, once you enter the state of Ihram, it comes from the same word as haram. Haram means something now is forbidden upon us. So those things that were normally halal for us, using a perfume, using scented soap, cutting our hair and nails, and various other things that are now forbidden in Ihram, they become haram the moment I've entered the state of Ihram. And when you enter the state of Ihram, that's what we're going to look at. But the main thing, most importantly, is the state of Ihram and how we're going to enter the state of ihram. So the three aspects. Number one, ihram clothing. Before you enter the ihram clothing, before you're in the state of ihram, we need to ensure that we're ready for that. Because in the state of ihram, you won't be able to cut your nails. So maybe, for example, cut your nails beforehand. Any personal hygiene that you need to do, any deodorants you need to use, any soap you need to use, any creams you need to use. Before you enter the state of ihram, do that. Then you put your garments of ihram for the males, for the females, will go to where your ihram is also. And then number two and number three are the most important. Number two is the intention. That intention can be combined with two rakats. The two rakats is it's sunnah to do, your two rakats for your intention for Umrah. This can be done at home before you set off, can be done in the plane, but it must be done before we get to the miqat boundary, and we're going to look at that in a little while. And if you do pay two rakats, it's sunnah to pay two rakats in the first rakat, Surah Ikhlas in the second rakat. Once you put your ihram on, you pay your two rakats, you make your intention, you make dua, oh Allah, I want to do Umrah, accept it for me, make it easy for me. But your ihram, you are still not in the state of ihram until you do number three, and that is when you say the talbiyah. You say labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika lak labbaik, innal hamda wal ni'mata lak wal mulk la sharika lak. So for example, if you want to delay your talbiyah, you delay your labbaik until you know you are very close to the miqat boundary now. Now you have to be in the state of ihram, so that before you say your talbiyah, if there is, for example, you need to use some cream or you need to use some deodorant or you forgot to do something, you've got till the point you say your labbaik. However, if you do your intention from home before you set off and you said your labbaik, then you're in the state of ihram from Leicester. So you can delay your talbiyah, you can still wear the clothes, you can still pray your two rakats, you can still make the intention until you don't say the words labbaik. You won't fully enter the state of ihram. So the first thing we're going to look at is the clothing for ihram. And because it's easier and there's less ruling, we'll first of all talk about the ihram clothing for women, and thereafter we'll talk about the ihram clothing and rules for the males. So for females, a woman's ihram is simply just wearing a modest abaya, jilbab, khimar, burqa, from which nothing can be seen except her face, hands and feet, and is devoid of any adornment. And for women, it's very easy. You can wear any footwear. You can wear socks if you want. You can wear shoes, trainers, anything. The only thing that you can't wear is that you can't have anything directly sitting on the face. So those women that do wear niqab or wear the veil, then for them, in the presence of non-mahram veils, they have two options. Either number one, they can get a hajj niqab, which looks something like this, where there's a cup, and the cup will ensure that if the veil at the bottom won't rest on the face, so one can go on top, and that way this is called a hajj niqab or ihram niqab. So they can get one of these. We've got some on the back for the sisters should they want one. Or another option is they just get a normal cap or a sun hat, and they can drape a extra scarf on top that will just drape down, so it does not sit directly on the face. So that's the only ruling really for females in terms of clothing. They can't have anything directly on their face. And if but by chance they do, then they will have to pay the penalty, just like males will have to pay the penalty for breaking the rules of ihram clothing for men. So that's simply the clothing for ihram for females. Next, we move on to the ihram clothing for males. Like I said, for those of you that may be coming just now, if you do have any questions throughout this, we've got some QR codes that are set up. You can scan the QR code, post your question, and any questions that come from today, we'll go through them at the end, inshallah. And also, feel free to take pictures of any slides should you wish. For clothing for men, it's these two ihram clothing. They have to be unstitched. They have to be pure, clean. It's better if it's new. If it's not new, you've already got one you want to reuse, and that's fine. Just before you put it on, maybe put it in the washing machine, get it cleansed. So just like we're trying to enter the state of purity, we're also physically wearing something that is 100% pure. So that's two clean, unstitched garments. So by unstitched means that it cannot be sewed together. You can't sew pockets, you can't sew sleeves, you can't sew it into trousers, for example. It has to be unstitched. Other than these two garments, no other items of clothing can be worn, including no undergarments, no underwear. And however, you can add things on to help you hold it in place. So, for example, you have a belt, and the belt generally will have stitching on it. So the pockets are stitched, the zip is stitched, the hems are stitched. So that is fine. Anything you add to it can be stitched, just like if you're wearing, for example, a backpack, and that may be used to help you hold your ihram in place. that will have stitching on it, that's fine. The point is that the actual garment of ihram cannot be stitched. Other than that, you can make use of some safety pins, and you can use that, maybe put one on your shoulder so it doesn't keep falling off. Anywhere else you want to use some safety pins to help you hold it in place so that it does not fall off. And don't worry, we'll go through a practical demonstration on how to tie your ihram. And maybe it might be a good idea that before you go, try practice at home. You don't want that you've never tried it, you want to keep it in the pocket. You got there on the day and you're struggling and you don't know what to do, and the flight's going to take off. So you don't want to be in that unfortunate situation, inshallah. So do practice wearing it as well. Other than that, for females, only they can't cover their face. For males also, we cannot have anything on our face. But further to that, we can't have anything on our head. So no hats, no scarves. We see, for example, sometimes those people that want to pay Jumu'ah Salah in the Mataf area or Dhuhr Salah, it's very hot. And sometimes you see some people, they get the ihram cloth and they put it on top of their head and they actually wear it. It's resting on their head, they will have to pay a penalty. Many of these people, they don't know the rules, but they've violated the rules of the ihram. So means you can't have anything on your head and nothing on your face also. And also for footwear, you can't wear any old footwear. There's very specific footwear. For the Hanafi madhab, the ruling of the footwear is even more stricter. We look at that on the next slide as to in more detail. But a common question that I get asked, and I'll just mention that right now, is if I need to go to toilet or I want to go to sleep or I want to have a shower, will that break my ihram if I take my clothing off? Like I said, the clothing is just to supplement our ihram. The main thing is the state. So if you do take the clothing off, you want to freshen up, you want to have a quick shower, quick rinse without using any soap, or you want to go to sleep and you want to take the top layer of your ihram, for example, or you want to, for example, go to the toilet and you're scared it might get dirty, so you do take the ihram in the toilet, that's completely fine. That won't break your ihram. When it comes to footwear for men, it's very, very detailed. So I'm not going to give you a biology lesson over here, but we do have a picture of the bones of your foot. And the reason for that is the difference of opinion is based on a very specific understanding of one word in Arabic. That word is ka'b. So according to the other three Imams, the word ka'b is slightly different. According to the Hanafi madhab, Imam Muhammad was actually a master of the Arabic language, one of the teachers of Imam Shafi'i, student of Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Shafi'i said when he used to explain the words of the Quran, it was as though the Quran was revealed to him because he knew the meaning of it so well. So according to Imam Muhammad, the word ka'b, the bone for the word ka'b, I've highlighted with the red circle over there, and it's either the vascular bone or the medial cuneiform, I think that's how you pronounce it. If there's any doctors here, they can correct me. But that is the area referred to as ka'b in the Arabic language. So the word ka'b in the Arabic language is referring to that section, and that has to be open. The only way that can be open generally is by using flip-flops. Flip-flops normally, because of the shape of the flip-flops, that middle section of the bone has to be open. But if that on the picture on the top right hand side corner, you see I've put a red and black line just on where that bone is. So anything above that bone has to be exposed. So if you do find something that is not a flip-flop but will cover the bottom region, that's completely fine. So for example, if you get low-cut socks sometimes, if they're really low-cut where they're closer to your toes, you can wear that, that's fine, as long as it does not go above the red and black line. But generally, the safest, easiest option is just wear flip-flops, at least for the time you're in ihram. Once you're out of the time of ihram, then you can wear sliders or any other footwear that you want. But mainly for the time of it while you're in ihram, until your umrah is complete, generally the safest option is to go get some flip-flops. And if you want to spend a bit more money, get some more comfortable ones, completely fine. The main thing obviously is that the ka'b region of your foot is exposed. So that was the clothing of ihram. For females, they can't cover their face. For males, you had some more specific rulings. Next thing now, we're going to go to the state of ihram. As I mentioned at the beginning, once you're fully clothed in the clothing of ihram and you prayed the 2 rakats, you made the intention, it is the talbiyah, the labbaik, that will get you into the state of ihram. When you say labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. Now what is talbiyah? What is labbaik? Labbaik is you're answering a call. Some of you may remember when you were younger, you were in madrasa, Maulana was reading the register, Abba was reading the register, and when your name came, you said labbaik. Labbaik is you're answering the call. So the question arises, whose call are we answering? So ulama say it's one of three. Number one, Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was told to build the Kaaba, Allah told him, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ, go call everybody call all of mankind to come to my house. And he said, how am I going to call them? Allah said, your job is to make the call, and it's my job to make the call reach them. So we are still answering that call of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and that is a miracle of Ibrahim alayhi salam. That thousands of years later, we are still saying, Labbaik, Allahumma Labbaik, before we go and put our ihram, get into the state of ihram. Number two is the call of Allah. Allah has invited us Himself. It is the invitation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're answering His call. He's invited us to His house. And number three is answering the call of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Lengthy hadith in which he describes, he gives us example of himself of how he's an inviter and he invites to Allah and to the house of Allah. It's all part of the invitation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his da'wah. We're also responding to the call of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when you say labbaik, it's not only when you put the ihram on, but we should try and make it a habit. And it's nice that we together throughout the journey, throughout our way to Makkah, in Makkah, going towards the Masjid al-Haram, in the streets of Makkah, in the valleys of Makkah, and maybe if there's any salah in between, after every salah, as much as possible we frequent our talbiyah, we say labbaik as much as we can. When I was traveling last year in Ramadan, and as our flight was past the miqat, we were landing in Jeddah. From the moment we passed the miqat, so me and my brother and a couple of our friends, we started the talbiyah, and before you know it, the whole plane was in one voice saying the talbiyah. It was a beautiful, amazing feeling. It was so loud that we didn't even hear the pilot's announcement when he said, "Coming crew, prepare for landing." Nobody knew that happened. We just heard the landing because everybody was just saying labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. And it gives you a spiritual boost. You're now ready, you're in the mode, you're in the vibe, ready to do your Umrah, and it's a beautiful feeling. So, like I said, at every valley, at every street, at every junction, you see the clock tower come, you see the mountains of Makkah, you're going through the streets of Makkah, you're arriving at your hotel. Every chance you get, say the talbiyah, say the labbaik, inshallah. So in a nutshell, I've talked a lot. Let me take a moment, take a pause. This is what we've talked about so far. Number one, we did our wudu, our ghusl from home. We prayed 2 rakat salah. We made a niyyah. If you want to say a dua, there's a dua, there's sunnah dua, you can read Allahumma inni uridu umrah, or Allah, I intend for umrah. فَيَسِّرْهَا لِي, make it easy for me. وَتَقَبَّلْهَا مِنِّي, accept it from me. Then we changed our clothing, prayed our 2 rakats. We made our intention, and lastly, we said the talbiyah, the labbaik. And now we are completely in the state of ihram. So now, certain things that are allowed in normal day-to-day life are now haram on us. And what are those things? So these are, in a nutshell, 7 categories of things that are prohibited in ihram. If any of these things are violated, we have to pay a penalty depending on what type of a violation they are. So I'll just quickly go through them. Number one, indulging, embracing, and talking about marital relations. So not only actually indulging in marital relations, but also any talk that may lead towards it is also prohibited in the state of ihram. Number two should be, second nature. We should know already. We're going for Umrah. We should not be engaging in any sinful activity. But that also is a prohibition in ihram. Number three, hunting, killing any animals, or even indicating towards it. So Allah forbid, but if you're in a one-star hotel in the alleys of Makkah and you see there's a mice in your room, you're going to freak out. You're going to call the hotel manager, and if you point to the animal and say, "There's the animal, kill it," and they kill it, you have to pay a penalty. So if there is, Allah, you're not going to be in that situation. Don't worry. Maybe 20 years ago, if you went, that might have been the situation. I'm not trying to scare you for you all. But the point is, if there is an animal that you want to get rid of, and you're in the state of ihram, even though you don't kill it yourself, you cannot point towards it and say, "There's the animal, can you kill it?" So that's a very important rule there for number three. Number four, using any scented or perfume products, whether on your body, on your clothing, or on your food and drink. There's no scent can be used. That's soap, that's cream, that's sanitizer, that's anything else, deodorant, anything that you use that is scented, you cannot use it in a state of ihram. So sometimes, for example, if you have a stop, you have a transit, you're eating at the airport, you go to the toilet, or you want to wash your hands, and naturally you might want to get the soap. Don't be tempted, don't use that soap, because if you do, you're going to have to pay a violation. Number five, you cannot remove any hair or nails. That is whether you do it by shaving, plucking, or clipping. Removing of all those things are also prohibited. Number six, wearing any stitched clothing for males, covering the head, and for the females also covering the face, and for males covering the calf region on your foot. All of those are violations of your ihram. And lastly, number seven, harming, abusing, insulting, offending, or arguing with any Muslim. It's like normally you shouldn't be doing this anyway, but in the state of ihram it's even more severe. If we do any of these things, there's 2 penalties. If it's a minor violation, you have to pay a fine in charity, Normally it's equivalent to the amount in Ramadan you pay sadaqatul fitr at the end of Ramadan. The exact same amount you give that as a fine in charity. If it's a major violation, you have to slaughter one sheep. It has to be in the haram boundary. It has to be distributed as charity in the haram boundary. So how would you do that? So to make this easier, if perchance you do make any violation in your stuff, you don't know what category it falls in. If you have already taken a picture, on the QR code on our website, we have got a whole list of those things that will mean you need to give a fine in charity. I've got a list of all those things that if you do those, then you'll have to slaughter a sheep. And at the bottom, I've got a link of a local charity based in Mecca that if you do need to slaughter a sheep on their website, very easy. Just fill in the form, make the online payment, and they will slaughter it within the haram boundary for you. They will distribute the meat within the haram boundary for you. So all of these things they come from three words in the Quran: la rafat, wala fusuk, wala jidal. They all fall into these three categories. This is what Allah explicitly told us. These things in the state of ihram is forbidden for us. So all of these things we've talked about so far, about getting into ihram, preparing for Umrah, we have to make sure that we're fully in the state of ihram before we approach a boundary known as the miqat. Miqat are designated places that a person can only cross. So anyone who's not a resident of Mecca can only cross in the state of ihram if Mecca is their destination. So for example, if you're going Medina first, Medina is not your first destination, so that doesn't matter. Going anywhere else, for example, first, and you even cross through the miqat boundary, that's fine. That's not your destination. If Mecca is your destination and you're a non-resident of Mecca, you have to be in the state of ihram before you approach the miqat boundary. So those that are landing at Jeddah airport, normally 15-20 minutes before you enter Jeddah airspace is where the miqat boundary starts. I'm going to show you a map of what the miqat boundary is. So the miqat boundary, you have Mecca in the middle. From those that are coming from the Western world like us, our miqat is a place called Juhfa. So the moment the aircraft passes that, we are now in the miqat. So it's too late. We should have had our ihram or in the state of ihram. Our labbaik has to be said before that point. If you're coming from Medina Munawwara, in Medina, so from Masjid Nabawi, it's about 10-15 minutes in a taxi. There's a place called Dhul Hulayfa, also known as Abar Ali. And Dhul Hulayfa is where Rasulullah used to go for his ihraman before traveling towards Makkah. So if you do go Medina first, it might be a good idea. If you are going to go take a train, for example, we'll talk about that later. But if you are, before you check out your hotel even, quickly go in the morning, take a taxi, go to Dhul Hulayfa, pay for the cars, do your talbiyah, and then check out and go to the train station. That way you've also got the reward of the sunnah as well. Anyone coming from the eastern world, northeast, their miqat point is called Dhat Irq. Anyone coming from, for example, Dubai, Qatar, or that side of Arabia, there. So if that's your stopover, for example, you got transit in Emirates or Etihad or any of those other airlines, they will announce on the plane normally we are now approaching the miqat boundary. But that normally is by a place called Qaran al-Manazil. And anyone coming from the south, so from South Africa or even from Yemen, Oman, their miqat is a place called Yalamlam. So for us, main thing we need to know, if you're traveling from Medina, we need to go to a place called Dhul Hulayfa. That is the sunnah location. Pray your 2 rakats, make your intention, say your talbiyah. If you're in Makkah and you want to do another Umrah, what do you do? If you're in Makkah and you want to do another Umrah, you go to a place called Tan'im. In Tan'im, which is about, depending on traffic, but generally it's about 20 minutes drive from Masjid al-Haram. There's traffic, it can take up to 40 minutes. So maybe go, if you are going to go in a quiet time, don't go, for example, on Friday morning or the day of Jum'ah, because you're going to be stuck for over an hour. So go to Tan'im. In Tan'im, there's a place called Masjid Aisha. That's where during Hajj, Rasulullah sent his wife Aisha with her brother Abdul Rahman. Go there, make your intention for Umrah from there. And that's where she entered the state of Ihram, hence it's called Masjid Aisha. So you can go there and pray your 2 rakats and then do your niyyah and your talbiyah from there. So that was the miqat boundary. The next thing is the haram boundary. So the haram boundary, northward is Masjid Aisha. In the middle, the white spot there is Masjid al-Haram. On the right hand side, the white region, we can see those are the tents in Mina. Normally, if you go for Hajj, you're always in the haram boundary. Why is this important? Anything in this haram boundary, any salah you pray is equivalent to praying 100,000 salahs. Any good deed you do is multiplied. But also, any bad deeds you do may also be multiplied. And there are certain strict rules that you can't do. You can't hunt any animals. You can't take any leaves of any plants or uproot any plants. You can't take, if there's any lost property and you just take it and you say, you know what, I'll take it, I'll just put £10 in charity, I'll keep it for myself, it looks nice. You can't take anybody's belongings. It's a sacred region. There's certain strict rules that you can't do over here that you can maybe do anywhere else. Be very careful when you're in the haram boundary, not to insult anyone, not to harm anyone, whether that be a human, an animal, or even a plant. All of these things you have to bear in mind when we are in the haram boundary. Now, the next thing, inshallah, we will have how to tie the ihram. So basically, we have two cloths. If anybody wants to volunteer, do the demonstration for us. So the bottom part of the ihram, there's two ways of tying the ihram. Let me show you how that goes. So the first way is you put both ends together, and then you just start from one side, and then just tie it around here. And then the next thing you would do is you get a belt, and just pull that belt down. Once you've got your belt around, you can just fold it over. So you can fold the top of the ihram over, or you don't have to wear it right now. That's generally how you would wear the bottom part of your ihram. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to take it off for a moment. Take the two ends of the ihram. The second option is, so you tie the left side in first, and then you tie the right side. Most people go for this option, but then you're restricted for space. So the way, the name, brother? Muhammad. The way Muhammad is going right now, if he wants to sit cross-legged or he wants to walk away past him, he's going to be restricted for space. If you are going to wear like this, it might be a good idea before you put it on to maybe stretch your legs out a bit more. You have more leg room, and then you tie it like this. This is more comfortable, but generally you need to make sure you've got that leg room. Like I said, at home, you might want to practice a few times so you're used to it, so it does not fall off, and do it in the way that's most comfortable. We have a diagram on the screen as well. And for the top layer is simple. Top layer, put it on your back. And so the top layer, you have the left side here, and the right side will just go over the shoulder, and then maybe you can get someone to tuck it in like this for you, and then you can put a safety pin here. If you're picking up your bags, for example, it doesn't keep falling off. This is generally how you will wear your ihram most of the time. However, in tawaf, when we go to the rulings of tawaf, during tawaf, we will take your right shoulder out. So the same, all you need to do is take that out there, and this will go under your right underarm, and then your right shoulder will be exposed, and that's how we will be. Just in tawaf, we have something called ittiba, and we're going to go over what that means in a short while. That's generally how you wear your ihram. So this is also, this diagram that I've got on the screen is on our website. So should you wish to refer to that later, you can also how to wear your ihram, step-by-step guide how to wear the ihram. Now when it comes to wearing the ihram, obviously while you're in Umrah, you're going to be wearing ihram while you're performing Umrah. But in Makkah, if you're not wearing an ihram, they will not let you go in the mataf area. So we talk about that in the frequently asked questions. Should you not wear your ihram and go in the mataf area because you want to go into the Kaaba, for example, etc. But before that, let's carry on about the step-by-step guide of Umrah. So up till now, what we've talked about is simply the rulings of ihram, how to wear ihram, what talbiyah is, what niyyah is, when to do all of these things. So we have covered number 1 out of 4 of our step-by-step journey through Umrah. So we've got our ihram now. We have 3 things remaining. Once we reach Makkah al-Mukarramah, we need to do tawaf, we need to do sa'i, and we need to cut our hair. Before we do that, I want to remind you of the dua list I told you at the beginning. At the beginning, I told you make a dua list, because when you get to this stage, when you get to Masjid al-Haram, the first glance you have of the Kaaba is an accepted dua. And you may want to choose something on your list for a star next year, for example. This is going to be the dua I'm going to make when I see the Kaaba. Now, this glance at the Kaaba can be from anywhere. So that's why, from the etiquette, so when you're entering Masjid al-Haram, is you go inside with your gaze lowered. So you're at a stage or at a place where you think you're not going to get pushed out of the way, you're not in the path, you're not on some stairs, you're not in anybody's way, and then you look up at the Kaaba. We're going to go through that in a moment, but main thing is have a dua ready. Even if if Allah has given you and blessed you with the ability to have a hotel room that has a view of the Kaaba, then if you look out the window when you arrive, you get excited and I want to see the view, and you see the Kaaba, that's your glance there. So maybe not rush to see the view, maybe hold your view of the Kaaba until you're actually there in front of the Kaaba. Because like I said, that is an accepted dua. So when you're entering Makkah, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, that's your dhikr you're doing, you're reciting the talbiyah, and obviously you're going to get to the hotel, you're going to want to check in, you might want to refresh yourself, but if you're not tired, maybe you might want to rest for a bit. If you're not tired, try not to do anything else. Don't go shopping, don't go sightseeing outside or what location my hotel is in. Our purpose is to go to Masjid al-Haram. We want to, as soon as possible, be freshened up, we want to head straight to Masjid al-Haram. And I'm going to bring back what I said in the part of the etiquettes. Remember the word unplug. It's not the moment where I want to take my phone out and take a picture of the Kaaba. This is the time where I want to take my tears out and make a dua seeing of the Kaaba, inshallah. So we enter Masjid al-Haram with the right foot, we keep our gaze lowered. Even if you can sense the Kaaba is there, try not to look up, try to get as close as possible, get to a quiet location. And then slowly, when you think you are at a place where you're not going to get disturbed, slowly look up in awe. And when you see the Kaaba, the majesty of the Kaaba, that in itself will be enough to move you to tears. Maybe say Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, and make that dua that you had highlighted on your dua list. That dua you make there is an accepted dua. Once you've done your dua, when you're ready, when you're confident and you're ready now, start advancing towards the Kaaba so that you can go in the mataf area. So you're now ready to do your tawaf. And remember, for tawaf, you have to be in the state of wudu. So maybe before you come to the Masjid al-Haram in your hotel, maybe go to the toilet, freshen up, do a fresh wudu, and then go so that you're not suddenly stuck. You're there, but then you have to somehow go back and look for somewhere to do wudu. And tawaf, simply, you have 7 rounds of tawaf. You're going to go through that in a bit more detail. Then you're going to pay 2 rakats, you're going to drink some zamzam, and then you're going to do your 7 rounds of sa'i. Before we do that, some key spots. You have the hatim semicircle wall around the Kaaba. This was part of the original Kaaba built by Ibrahim alayhi salam. When the Kaaba was rebuilt by the Quraysh, they didn't have enough funds because they would only, even though they had many prevalent evils in Jahiliyyah, they had one thing, and that was they weren't allowed to use any doubtful or any impure wealth for the Kaaba. So only that wealth which was earned in a legitimate way, in a moral, ethical way, they would use that wealth to get the materials and to build the Kaaba. They didn't have that much wealth, that was halal, most of it was from immoral income, so therefore they could not use it, they ran out of funds, so therefore they just made a mini wall, a semi-circle wall, and it stayed like that since. Only there was a short period in history, Abdullah ibn Zubayr when Aisha had told him of the hadith of the Kaaba, he actually had it built originally like it was, then Hajjaj bin Yusuf then reverted it back to the way it was. So nowadays, the Hatim region is still part of the Kaaba. If you do get a chance to go inside, pray 2 rakats, it's like praying inside the Kaaba. For most of us, it's not all of us that will be the only chance we actually get to pray something in the Kaaba. So if you're, normally there is I think for females after Isha Salah and after Asr Salah when they open it for the females, and at a certain other time they open it for the males, but they do change here and there. When you're there your first, second day, you generally figure it out when they do that. Sometimes if it's a busy time, they just won't open it at all. But generally, if you do get the chance, don't fight your way to go there. If you're there and you get the chance, make the most of the opportunity, pray 2 rakats in the Hatim. Then we have an area called the Multazam. The Multazam is basically, you have the door of the Kaaba, and beside that you have the black stone, the Hajar al-Aswad. The region in between that is called the Multazam. And the Multazam, any dua that a person makes in this region is also an accepted dua. And like I said, all of these things are nice, good to do, but if it's difficult, if there's a crowd there, don't fight your way to go there. We're going to end up getting bad deeds instead of good deeds, defeating the objective of what we're going there for. Number 3, we have Maqam Ibrahim. This is a gold casing that holds the stone which has the footprints of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he was standing on the stone and he was building the Kaaba. You don't need to go and take a picture, or some people start hugging and kissing it, or there's nothing, it's just a gold casing that they put recently, that was put there by the Saudi government. Before that, the Ottoman Empire had an older version which is now sitting in a museum. It's just a glass casing with some gold design on it. There's nothing Obviously, the stone inside is a sacred stone, so you're not going to get to touch that stone. Maybe you might want to look inside, but don't stop your tawaf or go specifically to go, oh, I want to see what's in there or start doing anything else. Then we have the Hajar al-Aswad, the black stone. Again, you're kissing the black stone, that is your sins getting forgiven. But we have a substitute for that. When we go through the step-by-steps of your tawaf, I'm going to tell you what the substitute is. So if you can't get there, it's fine, don't fight your way there. Again, there's large crowds there. That is even during tawaf, that's the most riskiest region where you can get squashed. So be careful about that as well. Then we have Rukn al-Yamani, which is another corner of the Kaaba. Will have a gold embroidery around it. This corner faces Yemen, hence it's called Rukn al-Yamani. And Rasulullah would place his hand on it or lean on the Kaaba on it when he was doing his tawaf. So it's sunnah to do that. It's not sunnah to kiss. Some people go there and kiss it. You don't need to kiss it, but if you get to the Kaaba and you get to put your hand on it, that is sunnah, you can do. Then people ask, what is the golden thing that sits on top of the Kaaba where the Hatim is? This is simply titled the Mizab al-Rahmah. It's the gutter pipe of the Kaaba. So when it rains, the rainwater from the roof of the Kaaba pours through. It's not like Zamzam water, so you don't need to get a bottle and fill it up if you're there in that situation. But it's just the gutter pipe which gets the rainwater from the top. The touching of Al-Hajar al-Aswad removes sins. Performing tawaf properly removes sins. And the reward of performing tawaf, for every step you take, is like freeing a slave. You do not place your foot on the ground and then raise it, as in the steps you take in tawaf, except that Allah has removed the sin. Allah has bestowed you a good deed. Sometimes you think, it's so busy, I'm on the outside, my tawaf is going to take triple the amount of time, or I have to go upstairs, and now my tawaf is going to take way longer. Really think of it like this. Allah is giving you more steps, Allah is giving you more good deeds. Allah is removing more of your sins. Compared to if you're beside the Kaaba and you finish your tawaf in 20 minutes, now it's taking you 1.5 hours. You got way more steps, way more sins forgiven, way more good deeds written down. It's just changing the mindset. Yeah, we therefore worship, and part of that pilgrimage, the nature of pilgrimage is it's supposed to have some sense of difficulty for us. We're supposed to be out of our comfort zone. So we will go through those type of scenarios. This is just a summary of things around the Kaaba. Before we used to have this green line which would indicate the start of tawaf. That is no longer there, unfortunately. There is a green light that will show us where tawaf will start from. And so we're now going to move on to step one of our Umrah. And step one of our Umrah is the tawaf. So remember, being the state of wudu, you have your intention, you're doing tawaf of Umrah, you're going to start from the Hajar al-Aswad. And we have a substitute for kissing the Hajar al-Aswad, and that is called istinam. What istinam literally means is you raise both your hands, you say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, wa lillahi alhamd, you kiss your hands, and then face them back towards the Hajar al-Aswad, and you say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and then you do your tawaf. Apart from istinam, so the moment where you're doing your istinam, which indicates the start of a round or the end of a round. So it does both for the ones in the middle. At the start of your tawaf, it's the start of the round. And on your seventh round, you will end your tawaf also with istinam. Apart from this, during the tawaf, we have to ensure our front and our back does not face the Kaaba. Only our left shoulder should be facing the Kaaba. So sometimes, if it's very busy and you feel like it's squashed, someone might come and push you, and you're going to be you're not sure whether you're facing your front to the back of the Kaaba or you're still got your shoulder. An easy way is the tiles on the ground are all facing the Qibla, they're all facing the Kaaba. So if your feet are 90 degrees, the grouting on the tile at all times, you are 100% sure that your front and your back are not facing the Kaaba. That's how I did it in Ramadan. It was very busy. The only way I could make sure I was not getting turned is by trying to hold my ground and ensuring that my feet are 90 degrees on the grouting of the marble in the Mataf region. So make sure you do not face your front or your back to the Kaaba. If there are any questions, post it on the QR code. We'll go through them at the end. Then, just like we had during the demonstration of the Ihram, during the Tawaf, for males, we have to take our right shoulder out of our Ihram, and so we'll have our right shoulder exposed. That is called Ittiba. And we'll do 7 rounds anti-clockwise. Nobody's going to get this wrong because everybody's going in the same direction. Maybe 100 years ago, when there was maybe not as many people, in the books is written that you have to make sure you're going anti-clockwise because maybe there was no one there and you ended up going opposite direction. We're not going to make that mistake, so it's fine. We're going to do it anti-clockwise, ending also in istilam. So we do the istilam first, one round, another istilam, second round, another istilam, third round, until we come to the sixth round. We do the istilam to the sixth round, and then the seventh round, and then we will end again with istilam, and we have completed our tawaf. The question arises that what if salah starts in the middle? What do I do? If you have completed more than 3 rounds, you've already on your fourth round, maybe complete that fourth round and then carry on from where you left off. If you did 3 or less, then you need to start again from the beginning. So we're going to go through that in the Q&A section. So just a reminder from now, if you've done 3 or less rounds, then you start again. If you've done more than 3, so you're on your fourth, you've completed your fourth or more, you just carry on from where you left off, from the istilam, from the start of that round, inshallah. During tawaf, just like during salah, during the khutbah or Jumu'ah or Eid, there is no talking. So similarly, you might see someone from England, from Leicester, but that's not the time to say Assalamu alaikum, which will tell are you staying out, do you want to go out for a month afterwards? No. In tawaf, very strictly no talking. Yeah? You can smile at someone, wave at someone, you can tell someone if your family members got lost, but do not talk, do not verbalize, do not say anything. You cannot talk in tawaf. So you spend your time in tawaf doing dhikr and dua. Now there's no specific du'as that you have to read. There are booklets, we've got some at the back as well, there are booklets which have du'as that maybe it's recommended or good to read, or some azkar, dhikr you could do. The only sunnah du'a of tawaf is the section just before the Hajr al-Aswad. So from the Rukn al-Yamani till the Hajr al-Aswad, which is the last face of the Kaaba before ending your round, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would read the du'a, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. And generally when you're in that region, you will hear the crowds, those of them that are praying this, people will be saying that dua anyway, that may remind you, and you say, oh, and you say, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Again, it's sunnah to read that. If you're engaged in your other dhikr or your dua, you don't have to stop that to do that. It's nice to bring in that sunnah also. Once you've done your tawaf, the next thing you need to do now is pray 2 rakats. These 2 rakats have to be prayed anywhere in Masjid al-Haram behind the Maqam Ibrahim. The golden casing we have, which houses the stone, which has a footprint of Ibrahim alayhi salam. If it's a quiet season and there's space and you want to pray your salah near the Kaaba, make sure it's anywhere behind where the Maqam Ibrahim is. Generally, at the back, just before, there's a green sign that says to Mas'a, which is towards Safa Marwa. On the left, if you're facing that, on the right of that, or facing the Kaaba on the left of that, there is a region generally where people will be praying salah. And that's where normally, if you do want to pray with a view of the Kaaba, it's nice, you can go and pray 2 rakats there, maybe make some dua, then go away and have some Zamzam water, and then once you're ready, you've had your Zamzam, you pray 2 rakats. Now, having Zamzam, it's not from the conditions of Umrah. So, for example, if you don't get to drink Zamzam, it doesn't mean that your Umrah is incomplete. But it's sunnah after those 2 rakats to go drink some Zamzam. So if you have the opportunity, do go drink some Zamzam. If you can't find it, don't worry. When you go to Safa Marwa, there are taps in Safa Marwa. Make sure that any water you see in Makkah and Medina, it says Zamzam on it. If it does not say Zamzam on the casing or on the drum, it does not say Zamzam, that is not Zamzam water. So you got to make sure that it does say Zamzam on it. Generally, the ones in Safa Marwa, they all are Zamzam anyway. So you can drink some Zamzam there. And we're going to go to the next step. Step 2 of 3 of our Umrah, and that is now Sa'i. So, Sa'i is going to start from Mount Safa. Now, 1 round does not mean you go up and down. No. If you go from Safa to Marwa, that's 1. From Marwa back to Safa, that's 2. So then you're going to end up doing 14 rounds. So, remember, it's only 7 rounds. You're starting from Safa and you're ending at Marwa. Now, if it's a busy season and the God just said, go this way, and you end up now, you're in the middle, you don't know which direction you're going, and sometimes you might be on the Marwa side, and now you've got to walk all the way down to Safa. That does not count as a round. Yeah, your round will only start from Mount Safa. An easy way to remember, Mount Safa is generally a big mountain which is covered, depending on which floor you're on, it's covered by a glass casing or there's like a balcony. So it's a bigger mountain. Mount Marwa is no longer seen, or it's very small on the ground, on the lower floor. But Mount Safa is bigger. Another way to find out if you're closer to Safa or Marwa is there's going to be some green lights which we're going to talk about. Those green lights are closer to Safa. So if you're closer to the green lights, you know I'm at Safa. If the green lights are right on the other end, then you're at Marwa. You need to go back that way, and your Sa'i will start from Mount Safa. When you're starting your Tawaf, when you're starting your Sa'i, from Mount Safa, if you can face the Qibla, nowadays you can't see the Kaaba because of the construction work, but you face the Qibla, raise your hands, make a very short dua, it doesn't have to be very long dua. Even if you just say Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, place the Durood Sharif, make a small dua, and then, or even if you just Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana again, and then you stop. Even if you just say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and any other dhikr you do, but do something facing the Qibla at Mount Safa, and then start your sa'i. So you walk from Safa to Marwa, but where the green lights come, for males, we have to increase our pace. You don't need to run a marathon, you're not running a race, 800-meter sprint. No, you don't need to do that, you're going to get tired. But you need to go as fast as possible, so even a fast walk is okay. If you're young and you've got the energy you want to run, it's not you can't run. You see people running, but the main thing is that you need to increase the pace of your walking when you're under those green lights. Before it was just a set of green lights here and a set of green lights there. Now there's like the whole ceiling has got long green lights. You know you're in the green light section. You have to quicken your pace or jog between the green light. That's only for males. For females, you don't need to do that, so don't worry about running a marathon. If you want to join them, maybe slowly quicken your pace, but you don't need to worry about running, so don't worry. What you do during Sa'i, same thing as Tawaf. Don't waste your time with talking or meeting people or anything. Still doing an act of worship. It might seem fun because you're running, but it's an act of worship. And during this act of worship, we need to remember Allah, do some dhikr, maybe do some dua. Those of you that have never been before, whatever I've talked about right now might be a bit confusing. So I thought it might be a good idea to have a map of what everything looks like. So this is what Masjid al-Haram is currently like. The Mataf area is the area where we do our tawaf. And then you see the dotted line, that's what I was talking about. There's a sign there that says to Mas'a. Mas'a means location of Safa Marwa. You have Safa there. So if the gods tell you to start from there, for example, you're going to have to come down to Mount Safa and then start your sa'i from Mount Safa. The area where you have to run, the green lights, that's called the Ramal. So the area of Ramal is going to be between those green lights. And then you're going to keep going all the way to Marwa as normal walking. That's one round done. Then from Marwa back to Safa, so Safa back to Marwa. And then you will exit from the top over there from the doors near Marwa. And that's your Umrah complete stages 1 to 3. Only stage 4 left now. So just another diagram there, starting from Safa, then Marwa, and the green lights you need to run in between. Okay, the last thing now is we need to cut our hair. Now, common question is how much hair do you have to cut? You have to shave it, you can cut it with a machine, you can cut it with the scissors. For females, you just have to gather all of your hair, and from the end of all of your hair. So if all of your hair is the same length, it's easy to just gather your hair in a plait, and then at the end of that, a handful or 1 inch, maybe if you wrap it around 2 fingers twice with the scissors, cut it off, and that's your cutting of your hair then. So if your hair is not the same length, then for each layer, if you've got layers in your hair, from each layer you have to make sure you cut at least 1 inch to ensure your hair has been cut as per the requirements. For men, however, we should shave our entire head. And I am emphasizing on the word shave because although some people do, there's 2 things. One is halaq, one is qasr. Halaq means to shave the head with a blade, and qasr means to shorten the hair. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made 3 times the dua for that person who does halaq, and only once for that person who does qasr. So for that person who cuts their hair with the scissors, all of your hair has to be cut. If you use a machine, for example, all of your hair will be cut. But let's try once in a lifetime, for example. It's not every day you're going to have your head shaved. You're going there for the worship, you're going there for the good deeds. So we're sacrificing a lot for this journey. We can sacrifice losing our hair, which is fine, inshallah, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're giving it for Allah, and we're going to receive 3 times the dua Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made. So I'm written here, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made 3 times the dua for those who do halaq. And the Sahaba who were sat there, one of them said, what about the one who does qasr? And Rasulullah gave me the same dua for the one who does halaq. He asked again, what about the one who does qasr? Again, he made dua for the one who does halaq. And then after he said there are 3 du'as for the one who shaves his hair, on the 4th time then he also made that dua for the person who cuts their hair by qasr. And where are you going to cut your hair? Don't fall for the trap where there's someone will come and they'll say to you, "You want to cut your hair," and they will take you to their barber shop, and that might be very far away. You walk through all the alleys of Makkah, you finally get there, and you're like, "Where am I? How did I end up here?" And you're stuck. So generally, easiest way, if you are coming out of Marwa, walk down the length of Safa Marwa, walk towards the clock towers, and on the left of the clock tower there is a Safa tower. In the Safa tower, go inside, go up the escalators, and then you find barber shops. There's a whole floor full of barber shops. Whichever one you go, go sit down. Within a couple of minutes, you won't realize your hair will be cut and you'll be out there in no time. And then that way, it's easy. It's more safe in that place compared to going somewhere where you don't know where you're going. So that's an easy way. Or many of the modern hotels nowadays, in their hotels, they have a few shops and they also have a barber shop. So the hotel I stayed in Ramadan, which was not the immediate area, it was a bit further out, but it was that hotel also had our own barber shop. We used to go there to cut our hair as well. So you can go there, or if you have your own blade and you have someone with you that wants to cut your hair, you can do that also. Okay, so that is in a nutshell the end of our Umrah. Once we have cut our hair, we are now, even though we might still be wearing the cloth of the ihram, you can use perfume, you can use soap, all those things that you could not do, you can now do once you cut your hair. So, a quick summary. Number one, we entered into ihram, we made the intention, we said the talbiyah, we did 7 rounds of tawaf in the state of wudu, we performed 2 rakats behind Maqam Ibrahim, we drank Zamzam facing the Kaaba, we did sa'i, we walked between Safa and Marwa, and then we cut our hair and we have completed our Umrah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept and make it easy for all of us. So the only thing that remains for Makkah now is some tips about our stay in Makkah. What else can you do when you're there? So, like I said at the beginning, don't get super excited that I want to do an Umrah every day. With the difficulty of the Umrah, performing Tawaf is superior to multiple Umrahs. The best thing you can do in Makkah after your Umrah is do as many Tawafs as you can. Now that may only be 1 a day, but at least do that 1 a day. If you can do more, you've got the strength, you've got the energy, you've got the health, then by all means you can do more than 1 a day. Some people do 1 after every Salah, for example. If you want to do that, you can do that. Try and do as many Tawafs as you can. Whilst you are doing your Umrah, you are not supposed to go to the Kaaba and cling onto the Kaaba or go to the Hajj Aswad. Generally, the reason is because, especially the Hajj Aswad and the bricks of the Kaaba, they are perfumed on a daily basis. We, in the state of Ihram, are not allowed to touch anything that will transfer that perfume onto us. And if you do touch the cloth of the Kaaba, you smell your hands afterwards, you'll be able to smell the beautiful itar that they use on the cloth of the Kaaba. So don't violate your ruling of Ihram while it's in the state of Ihram by going to the Kaaba. So the question arises now, how do I go to the Kaaba if I'm only allowed to go there for minutes in the state of Ihram or wearing an Ihram? And the answer is simple. Number one, so when I was there in Ramadan, police that was there, one of the gates explicitly told me, go put an ihram in and I'll let you go. You can only let you go if you're wearing an ihram. So they themselves know most of the people there will wear an ihram to go into the mataf area. Number two, the ihram clothing that we have is majority of the time, this is what the sunnah clothing was a cloth wrapped at the bottom, which we refer to as a lungi or a loin cloth, and there was a dida, an upper garment cloth that was wrapped around. And this is actually the sunnah clothing. So when you wear with the intention of wearing sunnah clothing, you wear your 2 garments, and you can go in the mataf area, and you're going there to go to the Kaaba, make dua at the Kaaba, to cling onto the Kaaba, and so that's how you will get there. When you do get to the Kaaba, hold onto the Kaaba, cry, make the dua, rub your face in the Kaaba. There's nothing like the Kaaba on planet Earth. And when you're there, you will feel the spirituality of the Kaaba, the majesty of the Kaaba, the greatness of the Kaaba. Just looking at the Kaaba is rewarding. Yeah, even if you're not doing anything, you just sat there. You could be on whichever floor, and you're just looking at the Kaaba, staring at the Kaaba. That in itself, you're not even doing anything. You're not doing anything. You're just looking at the Kaaba. That in itself is rewarding. Main thing in Makkah is we want to try and make as much dua as possible. And we want to take from the treasures of Allah. We want to get Allah to give us all what we need. And we all have our needs, our difficulties, our situations, what we want in our life, this one and the next, for ourselves, for our family members, for our friends. Make the most. Like I said, you have your dua list. When you're there looking at the Kaaba, you could be anywhere in Masjid al-Haram, looking at the Kaaba, tears in your eyes, you have a conversation with Allah, talk to Allah, pour your heart out to Allah, make the most of your time there. If you do get a chance, pray in the Hatim, take advantage of Zamzam. MashaAllah, throughout Masjid al-Haram, both in Mecca and Medina, there are drums that say Ma'u Zamzam, water of Zamzam. Drink as much as you can. Rasulullah said that the only people that find it difficult to drink too much Zamzam are the hypocrites. The Muslims love to drink Zamzam. They can never get enough of Zamzam. So drink Zamzam as much as you can. Whatever dua you make with Zamzam also is an accepted dua. Whatever intention you make. Whatever intention you have while you're drinking Zamzam, Allah will grant you, inshallah. And spend most of your time in Masjid al-Haram. That's what we're there for. Although the clock tower may look nice and you want to go eat and you want to go, you see it on TikTok and Instagram, all these fancy places they made. You want to go and have some coffee or tea with a view of the Haram. All of that, casual, fine dining. We're going there to worship. We're going there for Masjid al-Haram. You get a chance later on and you do that. It's not that you can't, but priorities, yeah? Prioritize your time, spending most of your time in the Haram. And aim to pray all of your salat in Jama'ah. Yeah, we're going there for worship. Let's try to make the most of that. And any worship we do that, it's multiplied. Like I mentioned when I was showing you the map of the Haram boundary. Any worship I do is multiplied by 100,000 times. So let's make the most of that journey. Yeah, avoid spending too much time in malls and restaurants. And when you are eating out, be careful you only eat local meat. So they do have imported meat. A large proportion of their imported meat comes from regions that may be not guaranteed halal. And if we have haram running in our body, even if we did not know, if our body is being nourished by haram, whatever good deeds we do is not written down for a period of 40 days until the haram has exited our bloodstream. Normally it takes 40 days for the haram in our body to leave our bloodstream. So for 40 days, any worship we do won't be written down. Any du'as we make won't be accepted. We made a du'a list. Allah called us to His house. We don't want to spoil it because we fancied a McDonald's, for example. Yeah, so really we know for which reasons we should not be eating from these places anyway, nevertheless. So whatever meat you do eat, try to eat local meat. Nowadays, generally, most of the food places have a certification of where, and right now, Saudi, they are moving to kind of make a local-based economy. So a lot of the places do actually now serve local meat, alhamdulillah. But you still have to do your research when you get there. Like I said, through your journey, try to complete a Quran. If you can do one in Makkah, that's fine, that's even better. One in Makkah, one in Medina. If you can't, at least try to complete a full Quran through your full journey. That way you're making the most of your journey there. And this is the place of dua. Talk to Allah, beg from Allah, cry to Allah. This is the place where you want Allah to give you what you want. And other than that, there are places in Makkah al-Mukarramah that are historic. There are key landmarks. The Quran was revealed there. Different occasions from the seerah happened. If you read up on some seerah before you go, you can go and find a guide, a reputable guide that can take you to these places, do ziyarah, go see these places. So in Makkah, generally, you have places of Hajj you can go and see. You can go and see. It's a good idea. If you plan to do Hajj, if you've never been Hajj, if you go during ziyarah in Umrah, there's no one there, so you can actually see what the places are like. In Hajj time, it's crazy. You're not going to be able to see what's where. It's a good time to go and see these places. Maybe go and see Cave of Hira. Now they're making like a new thing where you can like a real tourist place near Cave of Hira. You can go and make that climb as well if you've got the energy. I think now they're looking at getting some cable cars to take you to the top as well. I'm not sure it got started yet or not, but they were working on that. There's also the cave of Thor where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr were hiding in during the migration. There's the Jannatul Mu'alla graveyard where Khadija and many other companions are buried. Also the museum in Makkah you can go and see. There's also the factory where they make the Kaaba cloth, which is beside it. Some people like to go and see that also. But like I said, make the most of your time there, but don't waste your time. So that brings us to an end of our journey in Makkah. And the next thing now is visiting the holy city of Medina al-Munawwara. And before we get there, I think it's imperative all of you, if you don't already you need to download your Medina Companion, your SCPM app. On there we have a whole section just specifically for visiting Medina Munawwara. When you see Medina, when you get to Medina, the road to Medina, entering Medina, and the du'as to read then, and then all the different compilations of Salat and Salam, you can read. So there's QR code there also at the table to the back. There's some card with the QR code. You can download the app also, inshallah. So we are now traveling to the court of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you notice, I've used the word ziyarah. Now, normally ziyarah, people think it means sightseeing. Ziyarah means visiting. What are we visiting? Who are we visiting? There are three things. Number one, we're visiting the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number two, we're visiting the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And number three, we're visiting the city of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, I've mentioned them separately because each three of these are separate acts of worship. Each three of these have separate virtues, and each three of these should be in our intention. Like we had our intention for Makkah to get forgiveness, to reconnect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to cleanse ourselves of our sins. Our intention, why are we visiting Medina? We're visiting, number one, we're visiting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. Number two, we're visiting his masjid. And number three, we're visiting his city. So let's go backwards. His city is a very blessed place, and we're going to talk through what is blessed about Medina, how to make the most of your time in Medina. But further to that, we have the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Masjid al-Nabawi. And just like 100,000 times our worship was multiplied in Makkah and Masjid al-Haram, in Masjid Nabawi, any salah we pray in Masjid Nabawi is also multiplied by 1,000 times. And then we are visiting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're going there to really work on our spiritual connection with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're going there to get forgiven by Allah, to attain the intercession of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So every moment in Medina is precious. And Medina is heaven on earth. Not just as a phrase, but literally in Medina we have Riyadul Jannah, which is literally a piece that will be there in Jannah. It is earth, heaven on earth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. So before we get to Medina, from now, let us work on trying to enhance the sunnah in our lives, increase our salat and salam, our durood in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when you're traveling, travel with some yearning and enthusiasm. You know, all these anashid and these nats that we listen to, a lot of these were written on the journey to Medina. And if you're confident and comfortable singing in front of your family members, you can sing some nasheeds and nats to get you in that zeal for Medina Munawwara. If you're not as confident, then maybe you can put some earphones in and listen to some nasheeds and anashid and some nats to get you in the feeling that you're traveling to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You're traveling to visit my beloved. And so when you get to Medina Munawwara, you enter the city of Medina Munawwara, just like you enter Makkah, with humility and humbleness. And with that, you know, in terms of the etiquette, we're going to talk about the adab of Medina. You know, Medina is a very sacred place. I'll talk about that shortly. Let's quickly go through this. So, when you get to Medina Munawwara, you're going to check into your hotel, you're going to freshen up, maybe have a shower, wear your best clothing, put some perfume on, and as you're going towards the masjid, maybe spend some charity on the people of Medina. There's actually an ayah in the Quran that if the people who come to Rasulullah on their way, they give some sadaqah on the way, and that will be an expiation of their sins also, so give some sadaqah. And also, talking of spending on the people of Medina, if you can, try and do any shopping that you do need to do, try and do it in Medina. The reason for that is, spending on the people of Medina is a virtue of Medina itself. Separate virtue, spending on the people of Medina. You will see the blessing in your wealth when you come back. In fact, you will see yourself, the money you spent in Medina, how quickly that money Allah will give back to you. And Allah will put so much barakah in your wealth just by spending on the people of Medina. So, if you're spending on the economy of Medina by spending and buying the shops of Medina also, that is also something that you could do. Try and always be dressed in Sunnah. Try to maintain silence as much as you can in Medina. Yeah? We are in the city where Rasulullah is, where the Sahaba are buried, where, you know, monumental instances from our history took place there. A very blessed city, so, you know, try to maintain silence as much as we can. The only thing that should really be on our lips is salat and salam on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Take in the tranquility of Medina, the peace of Medina, the beauty of Medina, the spirituality of Medina. Go inside the masjid, pray 2 rakats. And also, just like in Makkah, whenever you ask for, Allah will give. Medina is also a very blessed place. Whatever you wish for, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make your wishes come true. And then there's the ayah of the Quran, وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ إِذْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ جَاءُوكَ فَاسْتَغْفَرُوا اللَّهَ وَاسْتَغْفَرَ لَهُمُ الرَّسُولُ لَوَجَدُوا اللَّهَ تَوَّابًا رَحِيمًا. Allah says, and when they have wronged themselves with sins, if they come to you, O Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and then they seek forgiveness from Allah, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also seeks forgiveness on their behalf, they will surely find Allah most accepting of repentance, all mercy. we are going in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will also ask Allah to forgive us, and we will also make dua, and together, inshallah, just as visiting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be enough to get us forgiven, inshallah, and we will attain his intercession. So, if it's not Farad time yet, try to pray some two rakats, make dua to Allah, ask for Allah, make Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam happy towards me, make him happy with me, and when you're ready with optimum humility and humbleness. Now, Masjid Nabawi is a beautiful masjid. The decor is beautiful, the chandeliers are beautiful, the calligraphy is beautiful, the design is amazing. Don't let that distract you. Our focus in that moment is not on the architecture or the interior design. Our focus is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, with humility and humbleness, with the lower gaze, salat and salam on our lips, we're going to advance towards the place where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is resting. And salat and salam is not only to be presented immediately at the grave. In Medina, in Masjid al-Nabawi, anywhere around you can give your salam from there. So for example, especially for sisters, they won't get to go in front of the window. They did not get all the time to go, even in the air section of the old masjid, to give salam to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You can, as soon as you see the window, for example, you can give your salam and salam. You can stand there outside, no one's going to stop you. Stand there for as long as you want. Pour your heart out to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Give salam and salam to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ask him to make dua for you, to intercede for you. And that's what we're going to do now. For males, when you're going to go to salam, slightly different now. So yesterday I just got this picture and I put these arrows on. This is what the journey we are now going to have to undertake. So the new system they have in Medina is you have to go from outside in front of that toilet and car park block at the bottom left corner there. There will be an opening. You enter into there. You're going to walk all the way down. Then you're going to turn around and walk all the way back that way. And then you're going to go forward and then you're going to come to Bab Salam. So they've done this for crowd control or any other reason that they state. But that is the journey we're going to have to undertake to actually get to Bab Salam. Now, it's a journey that you're going to be walking towards Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Depending on how busy or quiet it is, it may take some time. Even when you get to Bab Salam, from Bab Salam to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's grave, you're going to be taking some time. In that time, it might be a good idea to take out your XCM app, go onto any compilation of Salat and Salam, and start sending your salam to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from there. Because when you're actually at the grave in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're only going to get a few seconds, and the army is just going to, they're going to usher you on. You're not really going to get that chance to say and pray all those salat and salam to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as you had planned to. So from this moment onwards, as you're walking and as you get to Bab Salam, start reading all your salat and salam from there. This is a map of Masjid Nabawi, and where the red circle is, this is where we are going to be going in for. I'm going to bring this map up later when I show you how to queue for the Rawda anyway. Let's take a picture of that then. So we're going to enter through Bab Salam, which is gate number 1. And this is under the only Ottoman minaret remaining. If I go 2 slides back, the green minaret there, that's the minaret that stands at Bab Salam. And that's, if you don't know where that is, when you see that minaret, you know you're at the right place. And then we're going to advance towards the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with utmost respect, humility, love, yearning, and like I said, you might get only a few seconds there, directly in front of the golden mesh, in front of the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In that time, you want to go there with a lowered head, let your peers do your talking, and just present your heartfelt salat and salam to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you remember, give my salam also. And then thereafter, directly beside that, you will see, I say, هنا السلام على أبي بكر, هنا السلام على عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله تعالى عنهما. So directly beside the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you have the graves of Abu Bakr and Umar, and we're also going to see salam to Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Sayyidina Umar رضي الله تعالى عنهما. This is what you will see. The first 2 holes, there's nothing there. Yeah, so if you see some people trying to peek through, trying to figure out what's there, then people ask, what am I supposed to do at the first 2 holes? That's nothing at the moment, it's empty. You then move on to the main big central golden hole, and that is directly in line. When you are at that golden circle, you are directly in line with the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then when you go to the next 2, the first one you're directly in line with the face of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, and the next one Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and from there you will give your salam. And then there is a space at the end when Isa alayhi salam comes back to planet Earth. And then when he has his natural death, he will also be buried there besides Abu Bakr and Umar and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also, inshallah. Now the main question people ask is, sometimes when people say Rawda or you need a booking for Rawda, this section is not referred to as Rawda. People call this Rawda Mubarak. This is actually called Muwajaha Sharifa, which is the golden mesh in front of Rasulullah. Great. You don't need a booking for this. Other than Salah times, you can go anytime. Yeah, it's open 24/7. So that journey we had where you're going to follow those yellow arrows, you're going to walk, that'll be open anytime other than Salah times. So Rawda, what is the Rawda? Before we do that, some virtues of Masjid Nabawi. One prayer in my mosque is better than 1,000 prayers elsewhere. Whatever lies in between my pulpit and my house is a Rawda, a garden from the gardens of paradise. That's what we refer to as Riyadh al-Jannah. The third hadith, whoever visits my grave after my death is like the one who has visited me during my lifetime. So this is what the Rawda looks like. We have the pulpit, the mimbar, where the Imam gives the sermon from. We have the prayer niche, where the Imam reads the prayer from, and the location where Rasulullah should lead the Salah from. We have all these pillars, and we have this section here. This is known as Rawda or Riyadh al-Jannah. Now to get here, you have to have a booking. I'm going to spend a few minutes explaining how this works. So you're going to have to download an app called Nusuk. If you already had the old app, they now have a new app, so you have to download the new app. The old app had a white icon. This one has a black icon. Download the app, and you will make a booking. So I checked for today's session. When I checked yesterday, we had options to book for. This is how you click on the date you want to go, morning or evening. You'll have openings, and you choose where your booking is. Once you've made your booking, it might be a good idea to put an alarm on your phone. So if it's a time, for example, you decide you want to spend Hajj time in Riyadh al-Jannah and pay some Hajj there, and then you fell asleep after Isha Salah, if you miss your booking, they're not gonna take any excuse. They're not gonna let you go. They're gonna expect you to be there at least half an hour before your booking time. You get a 30-minute slot, but sometimes you may not get 30 minutes in there. Sometimes, if it's a busy time, you may only get 5 minutes or 10 minutes, maybe 15, if you're lucky 20. A good idea might be to book. This is a little travel hack that I am telling you. Make your booking around Salah time, so just before or the time when you know it's going to be Adhan time. If you manage to get a slot then, and you're in the batch that has been sent in and Adhan has been given now, you won't be removed until Salah is done. So Alhamdulillah, when I went to Ramadan, I had my booking just before the Isha Adhan, so I managed to get 2 hours 40 minutes in a Rawda. And some of my friends that are with me, some of them only got 5 minutes. Obviously, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's also you need to work smart. And that is, if you book it around the Adhan times, you get a bit more time, so you get to pay Salah in the Rawda as well. When you're there, so when do they open up? For the upcoming week, normally they open up on a Friday. So for example, if I check yesterday, from yesterday all the way to next Sunday, all the bookings will be open. Normally we open up. And they used to have this rule where you can only have one booking over 365 days. So the next booking you can only have after 365 days have gone by, if you miss your booking. However, Hajj season, they got rid of this. And as far as I know, my app is still showing me I can make a booking. As far as I know, you can still make another booking, alhamdulillah. So if you do get an opportunity to make another booking, that might be there. But it's not worth the gamble. If you don't put an alarm, you're going to miss your booking. There's no guarantee just because Malana said that they allow you to make another booking, you're going to be there. Generally, they won't. So hopefully, if you've been in the last year and you're going to go again, hopefully you will be allowed to make another booking also. Any questions about this? Like I said, put it on the tablet and go through the questions at the end. And then you're going to need the QR code will come up once you have your booking, and they will scan that QR code just before they let you in. So until then, about 3 or 4 more people may ask you to show them your QR code, but they won't scan it until the last stage. So you need to make sure that you have internet connection so that it's live. Sometimes if it's a screenshot, because alongside the QR code, it sort of rotates as well to see if it's live. So before it wasn't like that, so you could have a screenshot, and sometimes that would be okay. Now they've updated it, so it sort of spins around. I'll talk about how to get internet connection as well later on. So this is Rawda. We have some pillars that are quite important. historically, some of them are virtuous, so I'll explain what few of them are. So we start from the bottom over there, or rather on the right hand side, the green circle is the green dome. Under the green dome rests the chamber in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his two companions are buried. And the roda, part of the roda actually starts from the wall of that chamber, but we only get access to everything after those three pillars on the first right hand side. We'll start from the bottom over there. We have Ustuwana al-Hannana, which actually sits directly behind the mihrab where the Imam leads the Salah. That is where the trunk was that Rasulullah used to lean and give his sermons. When the pulpit was made and he no longer was standing there, the Sahaba heard the dead trunk of a palm tree crying and weeping at the separation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah went to it, hugged it, embraced it, and promised him that you will be with me, part of my palaces in Jannah. And that's the location of that. That's the location of that pillar. That is known as Ustuwana al-Hannana. Then we have Ustuwana al-Sarir, that is directly in line with the bed of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where his bed used to be, and also now his grave. And then we have Ustuwana al-Tawbah. So the first row of the pillars, the one on the furthest left, that pillar is where a companion, Abu Lubaba, he tied himself to the pillar. And he said, until Allah does not say He has forgiven me, nobody is allowed to release me. And when his forgiveness was declared by Allah, Rasulullah himself untied him from that pillar, and that's why that pillar is called the pillar of Tawbah. Beside that, we have the Ustuwana of Aisha, the pillar of Aisha. The reason it's called the pillar of Aisha is she said if the people knew the reward of praying 2 rakats over there, they would fight to be there. And that doesn't mean to go and fight. That means that it's very virtuous. And if you do get a chance to get that close, you should go and pray at the Ustuwana al-Aisha. It's very rewarding. And alhamdulillah, in Ramadan, when I was there, I managed to pray my Taraweeh Salah just behind Ustuwana al-Aisha. Alhamdulillah for that also. Thereafter, we have Ustuwana al-Haras, which is where the guard used to stand outside the room of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then behind that, we have Ustuwana al-Wufud. That's the pillar where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to meet the dignitaries and the envoys, the ambassadors of the different emperors of the time. And that was also there. So these pillars have significant historical backgrounds. They are blessed places, and this is, like I said, heaven on earth. So we want to try and make the most of our time there. Maybe try not rush to the front, because that's where they clear everybody out first. So if you're in the lower section and you're towards the back or even towards the side, judge where the majority of the crowd is going, because that's where they're going to take you out from first. If you want more time, maybe not go there. Once they've left, maybe advance forward. And that's what I did in Ramadan. So I started off at the back near Uswan and Wufud. When those people were all cleared out, I moved forward towards Uswan and Aisha. I sat down, and then the adhan was given for Isha Salah. And that way I managed to get most of my time over there. So when you're queuing up for the Roda, you're going to have to go in the section that I've highlighted with that red circle over there. And that's where you will go with your QR code, with your app. You're going to have to line up outside in the queue, and they will guide you. Just last week, they made an addition. So what they've done is they have put these markings on the ground. One of my friends from Medina sent me these pictures last week. They put these markings on the ground where it's easier, you can follow the path to where the queues are, and where to queue, where to go towards the Roda. And they are marked in Arabic, in English, in Urdu, and in Turkish, I think. So they do try to accommodate with the different languages there when you're there also. When you're in Medina, in Masjid Nabawi, if you get the opportunity to perform 40 salahs, that's 8 full days. If you've already made your booking and it's less than that, maybe Allah gives you another chance. If you haven't, and you're going to be in Medina for 8 full days or more, 40 consecutive salah in Masjid Nabawi with Jama'ah. Rasulullah said, whoever performs 40 salah in my masjid, not missing one salah in between, for him is granted exemption from the fire of hell, an exemption from the punishment, and he shall remain free of hypocrisy. So if you're only there for 10 days, 5 days, in your whole journey, maybe you may not get a chance. Maybe later on, while you're there, you make dua to Allah, Allah will give you again and again. And the next time you're going, you can make your booking such that you have a minimum of 8 full days, maybe 9 days in Medina. You can get this virtue also. For those of you that have not booked done your hotels or your booking yet, and you're still thinking about it, maybe bear this in mind when you're doing your booking. Okay. So the next thing now, what else to do in Medina? What should I do in Medina? ففي أرضها خير يسمن فيه. So the reason I put that there was mainly for that last line over there. ففي أرضها خير يسمن فيه, which means within its land resides the best of bodies, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So remember, when you're in Medina, like we mentioned, the importance of adab, of the etiquettes of Medina, have that level of love and respect for where you are. I'll just give you one story, one quick story. The example of Imam Malik, one of the greatest Imams of history, one of the four madhahib of Islam, are named after him, the Malikiya madhab. The first book of hadith compiled and published was the Muwatta Imam Malik. So Imam Malik is a great scholar of Islam. He was from Medina, one of the people of Medina, lived in Medina his whole life, and his title was Imam of Medina. People would come from all the way as far as Muslim Spain just to ask him one question. That's how important Imam Malik was. Whenever Imam Malik was in Medina, he would not ride an animal, nor would he wear any footwear when walking in Medina. And he said, when asked about this, how can I walk on land with footwear or ride an animal where Rasulullah's footsteps treaded? Where Rasulullah is buried under that ground. That was his level of love and respect. I'm not saying when you go there you have to take your shoes off and now you have concrete, you have marble, you're going to get vistas. Back then it was sand only, it was a different situation, and his taqwa and his level was different. So what you think is going to be your way of showing love and respect for the blessed city of Medina, for the ground wherein rests Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for the very places Rasulullah walked, sat, conversed with his companions, with his family, with those around him, and Jibreel Islam came with the Quran. A very blessed place. So we have to maintain our adab, like I said. We're not. I'm repeating the entire Quran that I had at the beginning of the session. That it is not a holiday we are going on. It's a spiritual journey. So let us not waste our time. Every moment there is precious, and we try and uphold the sanctity of these holy sites. Whilst in Medina, in Makkah, our journey was filled with labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. In Medina, our journey should be filled with Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa salatu salam alayka ya Rasulullah wa ali sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Any salatu salam ala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And if you can, when you do another completion of the Quran when you're there, again, try to spend as much of the time as you have in Haram, in to pay all your salat with Jama'ah. And in Medina, there's quite a much more lengthier list of places you can visit. There's some travel guides that actually do tours up to 6 hours long because of how many places there are. So maybe try and spend some time visiting these blessed landmarks. I've got a list of some there. So obviously you have the Jannatul Baqi graveyard. Whilst you're there, if you haven't already and you don't have a Saturday you're booking in Medina, try to ensure you've got Saturday booked in Medina. And the reason is because Rasulullah every Saturday he would go to Masjid Quba. And he said that whoever cleanses himself, whoever does wudu, and then goes to Masjid Quba. This virtue is for any day, Rasulullah would do it on a Saturday. And sometimes he would ride, sometimes he would walk. And he'd be in his late 50s and he used to walk. And nowadays they made the Quba walk, which is not quite nice to walk on, but it's about a 40-minute walk. In his late 50s, in the scorching heat, before Dhul Salah, used to walk 40 minutes from Masjid Nabi to Masjid Quba, and he prayed to the rakats there. So the virtue of Masjid Quba is, if you do wudu at your hotel or wherever, and then you walk or you go on a transport, whether that's a taxi or whether it's the buggy carts they now have, you pay them 10 riyals and they will take you all the way to Masjid Quba. Quite nice. And you go to Masjid Quba, you pay only 2 rakats. And the reward of those 2 rakats with wudu is that you get a reward of an accepted Umrah. We're going for Umrah, we're going to get the reward of Umrah as well, inshallah. But the quality of our Umrah, different circumstances may either increase or decrease that. We may make some mistakes in between. This is a guaranteed accepted Umrah with the maximum reward just by praying through rakats in Masjid Quba. So don't miss out on that. There's also places like the well of Umar radiallahu ta'ala in his garden. There's places like Masjid Qiblatain where the Qibla changed from towards Jerusalem to now towards Mecca. There's the seven masjids of Masjid al-Fath. There's Masjid Jumu'ah and many other masjids you can visit. There's Uhud. Be sure to visit Uhud, beautiful place, Mount Uhud, amazing there. Go visit the place where the Battle of Uhud took place. Visit the graves of the martyrs of Uhud, the Sahaba, there's a well of Al-Gharas where Rasulullah, when I pass away, wash my body from that well. His body was washed from that well. He also spat in that well. So the water from there, you can still get that water. You can visit the garden of Salman radiallahu ta'ala. There's a beautiful museum in Medina, close to the airport and the train station. It's called Dar al-Medina Museum. Amazing museum. If you get a chance, go there as well, inshallah. And around Masjid Nabawi also, there's quite a few small museums and exhibitions. And they're really informative, they're really good, they're really nice. And if you want at the back, I've got some leaflets of my friend who lives in Medina. He's from England, from Coventry. He's currently living in Medina, and he's got a company called the Haramain Guide, and he does English tours, English speaking. He's similar age to me, young, mashallah, very educated. He's studying in Medina also, and he does some good tours. So maybe you can, that's the one recommendation that you can book your tour with, inshallah. So we talked about visiting Makkah, we talked about visiting Medina. Now it brings us to the next stage is questions that people have a lot about, the logistics, the visas, etc. So when you're traveling to Saudi Arabia, normally for British citizens we have three options. Number one, we have a tourist e-visa that we can apply for. Number two, we have something which they introduced just recently, like last year. That is the EVW, the visa waiver. And then you have number three, the Umrah visa. Traditionally, before we could only have an Umrah visa, you have to send your passport to the travel agent. They'll send it to London, and sometimes you might take a month or so till your passport comes back, and you're always worried what's happening. Nowadays, it's very easy. You just go online. If you want the tourist visa, so let me tell you what the differences are. Tourist visa, you receive it the same day, is valid for 1 year from the day of issue. It also includes medical insurance, medical cover. So if by chance, Allah forbid, you have to get admitted to the doctor, you need to go visit a doctor or the hospital, your fees are covered by that insurance. Otherwise, you're going to have a big bill at the end of that. And you appreciate the NHS. Then the e-visa also, you are with the e-visa, you are allowed to come in and out of Saudi as many times as you want within 90 days. So you can stay for up to 90 days, and it's for 6 to 8 months, and also it costs, depending on the exchange rate, between £110 to £130. And there's a new one now which is slightly less, but it's the same thing, and it's £80, and that's also a tourist visa. So it can be anything between £80 to £130 based on the exchange rate in riyals. And to get that visa, you go to visitsaudi.com, go to visa, fill in the form, and you'll receive the visa straight away, instantly, the same day. The next stage we have is what is the easiest and the cheapest option, and that's the electronic visa waiver. You get it the same day. As soon as you make a payment, you get an email with the visa straight away. It does not include medical cover, however. So that's your decision if you want to take that or not. I'm not going to influence your decision, but that does not have medical cover. It's single entry, so if you go again in the same year, you have to get a visa again. But within one entry, you can stay for up to 6 months on the trot. No one's going to say you have to leave. For up to 6 months, you can stay. With this, you're also permitted to work, to study, and do other things that on a tourist visa you can't. And it only costs between 30 to 35 pounds based on the exchange rate. To get that visa, you go to visa.mofa.gov.sa, and that's where you will get the electronic visa waiver. Most people nowadays opt for that option. It's cheaper and easier, and alhamdulillah, it's quite swift. When you go there before, if you've been before, like maybe over 20 years ago, you might have bad memories of queuing for hours in Jeddah airport. Nowadays, even though we went in Ramadan, which is the busiest period of the year, I don't think you go in Jeddah airport for more than 20 minutes. Literally, you go to the desk, scan your passport, take a fingerprint, take a picture, look in the camera, Assalamu alaikum. That's all it is. It's very strict, very quick. You don't even realize what happened. They don't even ask you for your visa because when you scan your passport, it's already on their system. So it's very fast. The third option is the Umrah visa. Umrah visa before you have to wait a long time to get from the travel agent. Again, Umrah visa can only be applied for by a registered travel agent. But generally, it's mostly online. They may ask for your passport, but you receive that normally much quicker. Sometimes it's very quick, maybe less than a week. For the Umrah visa, they will ask for proof of vaccines also. You can receive it between 24 to 48 hours. It also includes medical cover. It's a single entry. It costs anything between 100 to 200 pounds based on the exchange rate. So normally, if you're going out with a group and the group has visa with the package, then maybe that's an option that generally most people will take. Otherwise, if you're going solo, you've done your booking yourself, or you're not with a group, you've got either option one or two, the e-visa or the electronic visa waiver. But also, if you have any issues with that and it doesn't come through, nowadays when you land in Saudi, you can actually get your visa there. You don't actually have to do this from now. You can land there, and sometimes digital systems you might have some problems or you might not come through on your thinking what's happening. When you land there, you scan your passport, you can apply for your visa, and they give you it there straight away. That's an option for British citizens that we have currently. Alhamdulillah. Next thing, I want to give you a few useful sites that might be useful for you. Number one, we have IslamicLandmarks.com. They have, so when you're visiting these places, if you read up on it beforehand, they have a nice guide for ziyarah. Number two, cbhuk.org, the Council of British Hajj and Umrah of UK. If there's any medical advice or any travel advice, something happens and you need some up to the latest news, they have it on there normally. There's also the pilgrim.com, they have a lot of tips and useful information about Umrah and traveling to the Holy Land. Then you have our website, the Hajj Umrah Essentials.co.uk. Then also, I was talking about if you need to give a penalty for violating any of the rules for Ihram, Adwahi.org, that is the website, the local based charity. They offer the service of you sacrificing an animal in Makkah and they will distribute it in Makkah for you. Other than that, also the portal to apply for the visa.mofa.gov.sa. If you want to take a picture of these useful sites, you can do that also. Other than that, like I said, we want to try and make this journey unplugged, but sometimes we do need to have some apps to help us on the journey, like the Nusuk app. So these are 6 apps that I think are essential. Number one, the Nusuk app, which you will need for booking your slots to pray in the Roda. Number two, if you're traveling by train, the train have an app also, the HHR, Haramain High Speed Railway. It's very easy to make the booking on there. Make a booking of your how many tickets you want. You get the tickets straight away to your email. And you can choose what time, what train you want, what day. Also, number 3, we mentioned already the FCPM app for your journey to Medina Munawwara. Number 4, just like the FCPM app for Medina, if you want an app for dhikr and dua, Umrah Welfare Trust, they have a charity project called Life with Allah, and they have an app which you just type in dhikr and dua on the App Store. It's a beautiful app which has got sunnah du'as or beautiful du'as for literally everything. It's a really, really nice app that they made. Number 5, traveling in Saudi, taxis, if it's busy time, if it's Friday, or if they want to rip you off because they know you're from England, for example, they may triple, quadruple the price. So when